Breaking news, the Supreme Court says yes to gay marriage.
The fallout after presidential hopeful Donald Trump's rant on Mexicans.
Plus, two women who absolutely flip the way we look at the word fat. Author of Fat Girl Walking, Brittany Gibbons, and Fat Sex author Jane Weinstein will both be here.
And summer camp for adults. Sign me up, people. We are taking your calls at 661-298-5487.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I feel very panicked, like chaotic for some reason this morning.
Are you also on your third cup of coffee?
I didn't even finish my first.
Oh.
I've been to the
Do you wanna
orthodontist
share?
already this morning.
Really?
Yeah, I haven't done much.
Do you want to share? I love
no.
these cups. They keep it warm. It's still warm.
Oh, look at that.
If they had a broadcast, hey, Tervis, broadcast one, that'd be awesome.
Oh.
Then we can give them away to listeners. So anyway,
Yeah.
lots going on.
Okay, let's get to it.
So for today's broad topics, we brought somebody else in to get a new perspective on some things. So Jarrett Hill is a TV correspondent and a podcaster. His podcast is called Back to Reality. Jarrett, you joining us?
I am. How's it going?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well. It's been quite a morning. My goodness.
I know.
Why? Did something happen?
I don't know if you heard. It's been a big night, a big morning for the red, white, and sequin blue. It's quite a morning. Quite a morning.
So enlighten us.
Yeah, Supreme Court.
So the most recent thing that has happened, I was watching the news and they were saying it's been a very big 36 hours for at least the President of the United States. This morning, the Supreme Court decided that, marriage is basically should be extended to everyone, and that it's unconstitutional to ban same-sex marriage, and that as of right now, marriage between two people, whether they are male or female, same gender or not, is legal across the country. And so people have begun, getting married in states where this was not legal prior. Even this morning, there are some instances in which it's still being held up a little bit. From what I understand, in New Orleans, there's a little bit of a holdup. Texas is also fighting it. But as of right now,
New Orleans, really? Really, New Orleans? This is the battle?
Right, exactly, right, yeah.
I don't know, that's weird, but okay.
But as of right now, marriage equality is legal across the United States.
Fantastic. So can we stop calling it gay marriage and just call it marriage now?
That's what I said on Facebook this morning. Gay marriage is now marriage, and gay weddings are now just weddings, and, love is equal. So it's been a great morning.
But I love that you also wrote on Facebook, as a gay man yourself, that this doesn't mean you're getting married, you're still single.
Okay, so that was I started getting notes so when am I getting an invitation? And it's you realize I was never engaged to begin with, right? It wasn't I was in line waiting for a license, but I like having the right, but I was not ready for.
Hey, marriage has been allowed for straight people all the time, and I'm still single, so
exactly.
It doesn't really do much.
Exactly. So I'm really grateful to have access to this right. However, I don't have a ring.
Right.
So let me ask you a question. Did you see Rick Santorum, our lovely presidential candidate, his response to the...
Please never call him our.
I was going to say, I'm fascinated by the use of the word lovely, but go on.
So one of the things he said in his statement to say was, today 5 unelected justices decided to redefine the foundational unit that binds together our society without public debate or input, which cracks me up that he says it was without debate or input. Then he says, as president, I will be committed to using the bully pulpit of the White House to lead a national discussion on the importance to our economy and our culture of mothers and fathers entering into healthy marriages so that every child is given their birthright to be raised by their mother and father in a stable, loving home. As a child of divorce 3 times over and a single mom, I think that my stable environment is just fine. Thank you, Rick Santorum.
Yeah. Well, but go ahead, Jarrett.
Well, it's one of those things that's so fact-free. So we've seen plenty of studies that come out saying children having love in their home is more important than having a man and a woman. We see plenty of children that are raised in homes with a single mother or a single father, or with 2 fathers or 2 mothers, or whatever the familial structure is. So it's one of those arguments that I believe is going to start to die, hopefully, because there's really nothing else for you to fight for here. And
I think that the term marriage is very confused. I think that's the problem, because people think marriage is this sacrament, in their religion. And I respect all religions. I teach my kids to respect all religions. So if you do not allow same-sex couples to come into your institution, your religious institution, and get married, okay. But I could go to Vegas and meet a guy on the street. Well, I can't right now because I'm married, but I
could do that
meet a guy
anytime.
on the street, walk into the courthouse, get a license, and get married that same day. Like how,
Even worse, I could be on a reality competition series and get married at the end of the episode.
Yeah. But
So
yet,
and that
but it's
doesn't- and
sacred,
that
it's so
doesn't dilute-
special, And I think people have this idea, especially, I was raised Christian and still have, belief in God, but don't necessarily identify with all of the beliefs of the church anymore. But, I think specifically a lot of Christians tend to have the idea that marriage is a religious institution. However, I always, push back on that and say, if that were the case, I would need to be Christian to get married, and that's not the case in America.
Right. So let's flip because we only have another minute of this segment. But Donald Trump, I try to find something redeeming in a lot of people. So if someone, later when we take callers in the show, if you can call and tell me one thing redeeming about Donald Trump, I'll kiss you on the face because I don't see one thing.
His wife is hot.
There's not. Well, but that's
He's very rich.
Okay.
But that's not. So he goes on this rant against Mexico and Mexicans, calling them
Rapists.
They're bringing drugs, they're bringing crime, they're rapists, and some I assume are good people. But I speak to border guards, and they're telling us what we're getting. He's such a tool. He's just a piece of. So anyway,
even this morning, on such a big morning, his last tweet says, "If I win the presidency, my judicial appointments will do the right thing, unlike Bush's appointee John Roberts on Obamacare." So and he's just he's upset. He's not happy this morning. It's not a good morning for.
And Univision, dropped his USA pageant and the host quit and all that good stuff, and now he says he's going to sue them. But we actually have to go, Jarrett.
Oh.
We love you. Thanks
that beloved clock.
I know.
Thank you.
When we come back, two women who are flipping the word fat on its head and taking the world by storm.
We're taking your calls, 661-298-5487 here on KHTS, your hometown station.
Welcome back. Two Broads, Faces Made for Radio. Yeah, we're on
Yes,
YouTube
that's what I'm
and
saying.
Periscope. Kim is so mad at me.
I can't. Because I got to.
What would you have done differently if you knew you were on
Brush
video?
my hair, perhaps.
Really, would you?
I
Okay.
maybe would have finished the mascara on the left eye. I don't know.
Later in the show, we're taking your calls, 661-298-5487. Make some comments on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter, @Broadcast Show.
Our goal is to break the internet. That's the thing every week.
Yes, we're going to break the internet. So I have to tell you this really quick story. I love Brittany Gibbons. She's awesome. Brittany herself is her blog, and she just is outspoken and funny and gorgeous, and she's a redhead, so we like her, so I reached out to her a few weeks ago on Facebook and was like, hey, we'd love to have you on our show because, your new book, Fat Girl Walking, and we weren't able to connect. So then I'm driving the other day, and I hear the story about adult camps. Camps for adults. So there's one called Camp No Counselor, which is actually up here, and it's open bar all weekend, and then Camp Throwback. And so I start reaching out and looking at that. So I found her, looking founder Camp Throwback, and I read about it, and I click on who it is. Who is it? Brittany Gibbons.
What the?
What the what? Two of the same. So anyway, enough about that. Brittany, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me.
Wow, that was quite a lead-in.
Seriously, I'm girl crushing a little bit, I have to tell you, because I love your stuff.
There's a camp for that,
Oh, is there a camp for girl crush?
Yeah.
Oh, actually, yeah. That I think that one's on video. I think my husband will watch. So you are the author. Let's start with Camp Throwback real quick.
Sure.
What the what? How did you come up with this? And you're in your second year, right?
Yeah, we're in our second summer. We're 4 sessions in, and, I really kind of just wanted to create a really fun place where people who I have a large community of readers, and I'm really engaged, and I thought, let's have a really fun meetup, only let's do it like a summer camp. And everybody's like, that's ridiculous, that won't work. I tried to get it funded everywhere, nobody would do it, so I saved up in 2013 and launched it and sold tickets, and it sold out in 30 hours completely.
Wow.
And I thought, maybe this really isn't so stupid. So I leased this, 4-H camp in southern Ohio. It's it's kind of it's rustic, but
Right.
it's also kind of like that underdog camp that, in an 80s movie that might close the next year if they can't beat the better, richer camp. In some sort of decathlon of some sort.
So are you guys
How's that
swimming across the lake to get to the other camp and you know.
Oh,
Yes,
I have
yeah,
such fun
no.
memories of my camp life.
Really?
I did
never
a wilderness.
went.
I did a wilderness camp when I grew up in Chicago. My dad sent me off to the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, and I went to wilderness camp for 2 years. And there's no running
You were gone
water
for 2 years?
Well, yes, for 2 years. I grew a long beard, but
called
no,
boarding
it was amazing. I mean, it really allowed me to get in touch with wilderness, and I had to survive without running water and electricity, and it's pretty awesome. So I love
Like
this
now
camp.
when you forget to pay your bill.
Oh, we're gonna do that.
So anyway,
That's the thing, like, as a kid, you aren't aware, like, how, like, in the woods you are. But as an adult, I mean, thankfully, there's tons of electricity, running water, there's even fans for us saying you stay in cabins.
And
I mean,
there's-
it's not,
and there's
there's
booze.
alcohol. Yeah.
yeah.
Let's not bury the lead here.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. So enough about camp, but I think it's awesome, and I want to go next year, Kim.
Okay.
We're going. So, but now your book is taking the world by storm. Like Fat Girl Walking. I mean, you've always been outspoken on your blog, Brittany herself, about and you've been kind of like the cover girl for I don't want to say plus size, but
Yeah, no, for sure.
kind of normal size. But we only have a minute, and then we're going to bring you back for the next segment. But I mean, how did you go from the blog to the book?
I was actually approached to write the book. I think all bloggers want to write books. They're like, oh, I'm just finishing my novel in the meantime, I'll put it on the internet.
Right.
But I fell in love with the internet. Like, I love, the back and forth and how immediate it is and the community, and it's like Wild West, and you can do anything you want. So I kind of had given up the book. But then I was approached last year to write it, and I kind of thought, well, now's the time, and that's what happened.
I mean, I was listening actually to the audio version because I commute to other projects, and every book I've purchased in the past 5 years is now a coaster. So I love listening to it. Was on Audible, and I mean, you read it yourself, correct?
No, actually I did it, but I picked the woman who did to try and sound like the most like me as possible.
Yeah, she's unbelievable.
And
I was
she
like,
did
you're a
amazing.
born actress. But I just love that, you take this word that, I mean, people use fat as this derogatory comment, and you own it and you live it. And I mean, tell us a little bit. We're going to go to break in just a second, but just give us the elevator speech of what your book is about.
It's a really funny, hilarious memoir of a girl who goes through life being fat and in the end gets to be great but doesn't lose any of the weight.
And that's what's different from all the other, and you mentioned this, that,
Oh, totally.
you're not going to find like the skinny girl within and shed all the weight and then find happiness and love and all of that stuff. Like, you actually deserve and have love now,
Oh, absolutely.
yourself, of your friends, of your
I think
family.
so many people have those books where, like, you have to lose all this weight and then you find yourself, and I didn't. I'm heavier now than when I started writing the book. If that's anything.
Do you? Well, we actually have to go to break, but I want to touch upon that when we get back. So, Brittany Gibbons, we will be right back on KHTS, your hometown station.
If you're just joining us, we have Brittany Gibbons on the line from her blog, Brittany Herself, and she has a new book, Fat Girl Walking. So, Brittany, I have a question for you. I saw the post that you wrote on your blog about your appearance on Dr. Oz.
Yeah.
I was really, I guess a part of me was not surprised that you spoke about how people were fat shaming you and criticizing you and Dr. Oz for having you on and not being more specific about your weight and you not being healthy, et cetera. Tell me a little bit about that experience.
When I taped it, I actually taped it about a month before it aired. So I was very much living in this very happy bubble of how everything went. And then when it actually aired the day the book came out. And the response on that show in particular was overwhelmingly negative. And it was mostly from his normal, regular, I guess, fan base. And
Right.
I can't entirely say that I blame them. I don't really watch daytime television too much. So I really wasn't extra familiar with his normal sort of theme of his show. But I guess I really can't say I blame them. I mean, here he's usually talking about, losing weight and being happy at a smaller weight and being thinner. And then I'm coming on and kind of saying something completely different. Mm-hmm. And I think that upset a lot of people.
But what I found interesting is you weren't saying anything completely different. You were saying be healthy in your skin. I mean, I know that you even wrote about, like, that you run, that you eat right. I think that's the message, and the fact that people were negative about you not being thinner, and that show was supporting that. I'm disappointed in that. I think I missed the boat. It missed the conversation.
But I think heavy.
I absolutely agree with you.
I think it's your position. I right now am probably 40 pounds overweight. So your position is rare because I personally, I'm not comfortable. Like I do not have a positive relationship with food. We are not friends, or we're lovers and we break up, and it's.
And then you get more lovers. Yeah.
So I think that sometimes when people aren't feeling good about themselves, good one, Kim.
Yeah.
When people aren't feeling good about themselves, and you stand up and you say, "But I feel comfortable in my own skin," they're confused by it. But like, do you feel this pressure to stay where you are? I mean, are you, first of all, happy where you are no matter what weight?
Yeah, I mean, I think what's important is I'm in a weight that I feel comfortable at. I'm in a very comfortable weight right now. My jeans fit me, and that's great. And that's basically what I go by in terms of weight. And like I said, I'm really healthy. I think what people struggle with is they're not used to seeing somebody who is heavier than them being really happy and okay in their body. And because they're not, their immediate reaction to that is to put an end to it, to sort of make them feel better. Mm-hmm. And I think it's a very kind of just inherent selfish thing that we do to each other, especially women.
Have you always been this comfortable? Or I mean, was it? Okay.
No.
So where did that change?
It probably began about 5 years ago. And definitely always have been right around the same size, but I was miserable. I never left the house. I had 3 kids and lived in yoga pants and was very, very unhappy. And I had a daughter after having 2 boys, and she looked just like me, and she started to act just like me towards the body. And that really was unsettling and upsetting to me because I just couldn't kind of sentence her to this life of hating herself and being so miserable in all parts of her body. So I just began to really fake it, completely made it up. Like, no, I'm beautiful. I feel great. I look wonderful. And the weird part is it just sort of began to work.
Do you think that there are realistic role models in our media and in our society for people like your daughter besides yourself? I mean, do you think that there's a healthy place for your daughter to look besides you?
I think that there are becoming more places for girls to look, which I think is neat. I think the realm of celebrity is expanding outside of, say, an actress or that sort of sector of people, and I think that that's really exciting. I think that what's really amazing, especially about the internet in general, is we're kind of having a rise of the everyday person that people can look up to. And my daughter, there's a YouTube star named Heather Trask who she's just obsessed with, who's an 18-year-old woman, girl who's got a gorgeous curvy body and sings her heart out. So I think it's neat that I'm able to sort of introduce her to different people of all sizes and sort of show them how brilliant they are.
Well, it's interesting. I'm totally blanking on her name right now. Micah Molly,
Melissa McCarthy.
Okay, so Melissa McCarthy, right? Everyone talks about how heavy she is and, all the roles that she
How have you found love and success when you're so fat?
Right.
That's the way they treat her.
But now she's losing weight, and so now that's a big issue. And so do you feel, I think that's where you were starting to say before, like, do you feel the pressure now, Brittany, to stay the weight you are because you've created a following and a book and a brand?
It's your brand.
And do you feel like you have to maintain it? What happens if you dropped weight unexpectedly or purposefully?
I guess I feel really honored that I get to maintain my current weight, which is kind of a big relief for me. I sort of thought for a while, like, as I moved into different sectors, like playing more in sort of traditional media, like in publishing and even if it goes into TV, would I have to lose weight? And I think one of the great parts of my job is I safeguarded myself so that I don't have to. But I really sort of push a message that is not plus-size exclusive. I think this is really a gender women's issue across the board. And, I appreciate all body sizes. I've been a lot of them. I'm currently really, really happy in this one. So I haven't felt the pressure to sort of stay or leave my current size, which I think is a good thing so far.
And it's fantastic because I think that a lot of people, like Kim was saying, you drop weight and then all of a sudden it's like there's more criticism, so it's all about being comfortable where you are. And I think that when a celebrity becomes that spokesperson and you become the spokesperson, then people get angry when they no longer identify with you, so you're just saying
for sure.
Be exactly who you are.
Especially, when you have the heavier stars that suddenly drop off everything. And then they're putting out fashion lines.
Right. Well, we have to go to
none of these clothes will fit me. So
exactly. But we have to go to break. But to find Brittany's book, Fat Girl Walking, go to our website, broadcast.com. Brittany, thank you so much. Brittany Gibbons,
Thank you, Brittany.
herself. Thanks for joining us so much. So coming up, 2 words, fat sex. How
yes.
can you not tune in to hear more about that?
We're taking your calls, 661-298-547, here broadcast on KHJS Hometown Station. We are back. Welcome. So we do this Periscope thing. So Periscope up. Hi. I'm very
we'll answer your
self-conscious.
questions in the 6th segment. So
I'm very self-conscious of this.
Stay tuned.
But on the line, we have Rebecca Jane Weinstein, who is the author of Fat Sex, The Naked Truth. And she has a whole slew of other books on her Fat Book series, which she'll talk about. She's also the founder of peopleofsize.com. She's an attorney, a social worker, and an advocate. And hell's yeah to you, Rebecca. So come on. Hello.
Welcome.
Hello.
How are
Good morning.
you?
Good morning.
Or good afternoon. I forget where you're on the East Coast somewhere.
Yes, afternoon to me.
Good afternoon. Thanks for coming, Rebecca. I want to know why you got into this writing and stuff, but I'm uncomfortable sometimes talking about, like, when we just had Brittany on, like, a fat girl walking, fat sex. I was raised that was derogatory, and that I feel bad. I feel like I'm being negative and offensive. Does that strike a nerve with you, or are you trying to own that word and reshape what it means?
Well, I do talk about in the book about the idea of reclaiming the word fat. When I started writing about fatness, I had a lot of trouble with the word fat because I've had a lot of trouble with it my whole life, being a fat person my whole life, and that word being very upsetting to me. It really having horribly negative connotations. And I started getting involved in these issues, and I started to use the word, and after a while, I started to use the word so much that I forgot that other people sometimes are offended by it. But the reason I do use it is because it helps me to not be hurt by it when people use it as a weapon against me.
Right.
Are there other words that are offensive? Are there things that are offensive to you, so that no matter what you do, it still hits that little girl inside of you that was suffering when you were growing up?
For me, it's mostly about context. I think that if somebody uses the word fat to me as in some sort of aggressive and negative way, it still may bother me. I'm more accustomed to the word, but, when people are meaning to attack you, you're probably going to feel attacked.
Right.
I know that there are people who feel very strongly about the word obesity, that it's, it medicalizes a human being.
Right.
I think it's a matter of perception and context, and I understand why in a medical setting you would use a medical word.
Right.
So I don't appreciate that word in casual conversation.
Right.
Or to tell me what's wrong with me as a person.
But I think what people have done was, because fat started to become, a negative opinion about another person, they started using obesity because it's a factual, if your BMI or is X amount, then this is a factual number, like you were saying, medical. But like, at what point of your life, I was listening a little bit, again, and I said this earlier, to the audiobook. Thank you to authors who put their books on audible.com, because, and no, they're not a sponsor, but I just, driving in my car and commuting to projects, that's the best way for me to listen. But you talked about your relationship with your grandmother and kind of how things started there. And
I was in my 40s before I could tolerate the word fat at all. I had gone through a great deal in my life before that started to be comfortable. And I use it, it's not a specific word. It's a word that really indicates how you perceive yourself or someone else perceives you, because a person who is 10% over their so-called ideal body weight may feel fat.
Right.
Somebody who's 200 pounds over their, is fat. So it's not a word that I use in, if I'm talking about BMIs or clinical issues, I do find the word frustrating because it's so unspecific. But in talking about how we feel about ourselves and about emotional issues and relationships, it's an important word because you may feel or be perceived as fat at all different kinds of sizes.
Right.
And is that the impetus for why you decided to write the Fat Book series? I mean, you have Fat Kids, Fat Sex, and I know you have a couple, Emily's Tummy. I think you have a couple other ones coming. But is that the reason that you decided to write this series of books?
The Fat Sex was the first one I wrote, and of all people, it was my mother's idea.
Go, Mom.
Gotta love that.
Well, I love that you take a word that's often used as an insult, and then you flip it, because you say fat sex, and people are like, what? Like Periscope right now, they're
right,
they're following. You're like, wait a minute, what's happening? So I think we're going to go to a break and we're going to talk more about it. But I want to talk about that visual of people think that not the visual, but that people think if you're overweight, you can't possibly be having great sex in your life. You can't possibly have love and passion and all those things. I mean, it's just, and I also want to talk about the discrimination that happens with people who are overweight. But I think we have to go to break. So
Peter's saying yes. Get off the air, ladies. It's time for commercial.
We will be right back with Rebecca Jane Weinstein. Welcome back to Broadscast. If you're just joining us, Rebecca Jane Weinstein is here. She's the author of Fat Sex, The Naked Truth, founder of peopleofsize.com, an attorney, social worker, and advocate. So, Rebecca, let's get to it. So, Fat Sex, it was your mom's idea. Like, what are you trying to... so the second edition of this book comes out June 30th?
It is, yes, June 30th.
So, what's the message of this book, this book that you want people to take from it?
I think the overall message of the book is that fat people have sex just like thin people have sex. Sometimes they have great sex, sometimes they have not so great sex, and really just fat people are people, and people like to have sex. So, that's the over...
So that could have been written in one page.
Yeah, but the reason it can't be written in one page is because it's complicated for people who are fat or perceive themselves as fat, because there are so many social issues that we have to deal with, and so many lessons we've been taught from a young age, and so many prejudices, that although sex is just sex and there's no such thing as fat sex, it's really just sex. Although that's true, there's a lot of baggage that comes with being a fat person and sex.
Right.
And it's hard. People have a rough time. So this book is about
hopefully
the good and the bad. I mean, it's happy and it's sad and it's complicated.
Do you think the baggage naturally comes with being larger, or do you think the baggage is taught?
Well, from what I can tell, from having been writing about fatness now for almost 5 years, it is largely taught. And I occasionally meet somebody who has been raised to believe that their body is beautiful no matter what it is, and that fatness is not a crime against nature. And when I do meet a person like that, they tend to have a very different perspective on their body. Now, I don't meet so many people like that. That is not the typical way that people have been raised, and maybe that's changing a little. I don't know. Probably not, because now we have a child obesity epidemic, supposedly. And
So where's the balance? I mean, speaking of the child obesity epidemic, where's the balance of, raising kids who are healthy, strong, active, and make good choices with food, but also teaching them that their body at any size, at any time of their lives,
is lovable.
Is absolutely lovable and perfect?
Well, becoming fat is a complicated issue that's still in the infancy in terms of scientific research, despite what many people assume. Mm-hmm. But everybody should be taught to eat healthy. Everybody should be taught to exercise. It doesn't matter what size you are or where you're from or who you are. Being as healthy as you can be is certainly a goal that everybody probably wants to work towards and probably should. And some of us become fatter than others. Then, if you're raised with a lot of conflicting ideas in your head, you also end up with a lot of emotional issues, including eating disorders.
Right. Mm-hmm. What are some of the big? Oh, sorry.
So I would say the best way to raise a child is to treat any child like you would treat any child. You don't treat a fat child differently than a thin child. You teach a child what you think that they should know and love them.
Absolutely. But do you think that are children with a healthy body image and healthy sense of self becoming fat? I mean, it's kind of like the chicken and the egg thing. Like for me, on my heaviest times, which I'm absolutely 100% at it right now, I didn't get here because I'm having so much fun. I got here because when I stress, I eat, or at night I binge, or and I'm just putting it out there. Like It's not a healthy thing for me. When I'm feeling better about myself, I don't turn to that stuff. So which comes first?
Well, that's a hard question. There are various reasons why people gain weight, but I would say that at a low self-esteem period, at a period of depression, and any kind of negativity in your life is not going to make things better for you.
Right.
I mean, it's that's sort of a generalization that would be true all around anything. So if you have a tendency to stress eat or binge eat or whatever, being in a bad place is not going to help you.
Right.
And in terms of liking your body, if you're socialized from a young age to not like your body, that's going to, all kinds of issues are going to come from that. I can tell you that for myself, and for a lot of people I've talked to, I started out when I was a young child at around 5, a little chubby, and I don't know why I was chubby. Nobody really knows why I was chubby. I maybe just was chubby. And I mean, really, I wasn't a very large child. I was a little chubby, but it became an issue. I was seen by a doctor, and the doctor said I needed to go on a diet. And from then on, as I say, I think it's in my Fat Kids book, that it wasn't so much a diet as it was an eating disorder starter package. And for me, I don't know which is the chicken, which is the egg, but the being labeled as fat and being treated as fat is what made me fat.
So, in your book, Fat Sex, The Naked Truth, I think people are going to assume that it's soft porn, but I think that the message I know, that's that's what I love about it. I mean, I love that the whole concept behind it is to empower women or people, heavy, thin, to love their body, have healthy sex, to have appropriate, consensual, wanted, desired sex. And I love that your message is getting out there through your book. I hate to cut our interview short with you, Rebecca, but we're getting the message that we have to go to break. But congratulations, it's a second edition. People can see all of your books at your fatbookseries.com website, and they can also find you at peopleofsize.com. Thank you, Rebecca.
And we have
good luck.
All the links on our website at Broadcast.
We do.
My pleasure.
So
Thank you.
so
good
much.
luck.
Coming up.
Thank you.
Thank you. Coming up. It's all about you. We are taking your calls and your comments.
Chicky.
Welcome back. So we were going live on Periscope all this time today, and then we realized that they couldn't hear
Oh.
the
So we
caller.
should have been miming the last and like.
they couldn't hear the guest on there. So we apologize. We're new to this. We're just, anyway. So we have a very exciting thing happening.
What is it?
On Facebook.
Oh, Facebook.
The Broad Squad. So it's a group on Facebook.
Could we have a theme song? Like, I feel like we need to have a theme
that
song
would be
for the Broad
awesome.
Squad.
It should be like kind of like the mod
Yeah,
squad.
that's what I'm hearing in my head.
Like da-na-na-na-na-na. I don't even know what that
And
song is.
capes and,
Yeah.
and tights.
That would be cool.
Okay.
We'll have to make some products. So on Facebook, go to Groups and Broad Squad and join us because it's cool. Not only do you get exclusive deals and giveaways and things like that we're going to do, but also, it's a place to kind of connect and throw some topics around. And,
Right.
it's been really good.
It's been fun.
Yeah, and we have so many women in there talking about their own projects too, like
Right.
their blogs and their products and their this. So it's a win-win. So if you want to join us,
And I'm going to work on the song.
yes,
that's what I'm gonna do in
Kim's
my
gonna
spare
write
time, in
Kim's
my
gonna
spare
write a
time.
song. So anyway, we're going to start taking your calls. So on the line we have Marie Roker Jones from the Broad Squad. Marie,
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are
Can
you?
you hear me? I'm good. Can you hear me well?
we can. What's your question or comment?
Oh, I just wanted to make a comment regarding the law that just passed. I know a lot of people are up in arms about, same-sex marriage, and I just think, it doesn't matter because it's just about love, and it's about who is compatible, who wants to live together, and who wants to make their marriage work. So I think that people that get so caught up in it need to just focus on their relationships and not worry about what other people are doing. And if we just start to really put our attention more towards making all kinds of relationships work, then that'll make the world just a better place.
Well, one of the things I loved about the law, the passing, is that it incorporates and includes kids because I think kids in situations that were from same-sex relationships that they felt like their parents' relationships were less than others, and I love that we hopefully are going to be lifting that stigma so that kids feel included and loved and cared for no matter what the relationship their parents are having.
Yeah, well, thank you, Marie, for your call. Very much appreciated. There's a...
No problem. Thank you.
Have a good day. There's a video I put on our page this morning on our Broadcast Facebook page that people apparently are enjoying. But I actually asked my son, and you saw this, I asked him what happened because I had told him, and he said, and you have to check out the video, so Broadcast on Facebook. But he said, this is what happened. The Supreme Court approved same-sex marriage. And I said, how does that affect mom and dad's marriage? And his response is perfect.
Yeah.
It's just, I'm not going to give it away, but go to our Facebook page because I just think that his response is exactly the answer.
Well, my son and I have been talking about there were 37 states that approved this before today. And so with each of those states in the last couple of years that my son and I could talk about it, I would remind him. And he always had this look like, I'm confused as to why this is news, was sort of, and so it was a great opportunity for me to discuss with him, bigotry and inequality and how confused our society is in some levels, and also about embracing other people's opinions and talking about intolerance and judgment. And so when I told him today that it is now, nationwide, he kind of looked at me like, cool. And I said, and how does this impact you? And he goes, it doesn't. But I've been trying to convince adults of that for years.
Right.
They've never.
Kids are easier than that.
I will never forget. I had one of my many arguments with my ex-husband was about civil unions, and he was vehemently opposed. I'm sure he still is. And I kept saying, but I don't understand. How does this impact our relationship? And he said, well, because it diminishes our marriage. I'm like, but how? How does it impact? He could never really come up with a great answer. And so,
because he's a tool, but that's a whole other topic.
No, but lots of people think that way, P.S. But
yeah, but my husband was telling my son this morning, it wasn't that long ago that, interracial marriages could happen. And he looked at him like, you're kidding, like waiting for him to say he was kidding because he just could not understand. Like,
Right.
Really?
Well,
You
I'm
know?
happy that the law caught up with our cultural shifts and our changes, and I hope that people can respect that, and just like I respect other people's opinions, but
that's the thing is, what I love about this show, and I was actually even listening to, I'm not going to bash any other, but I've listened to talk shows. I work in daytime TV. I drive and I listen to other news programs where people I respect very much are on as guests, and it's always talking over and yelling. And one thing about when, you and I created the show was that every woman's voice matters. Every person's voice matters. So if somebody is against it, I want to hear from them.
Yeah.
I want to know why it doesn't work for you. Like, I want to know why, other than the fact that, like I said before, in your religious institution, if it's not allowed, okay, but legally, you know? So anyway, let's keep the conversation going. Next week, we are going to have somebody on who is an expert in food and our relationship with it and why, to kind of follow up on today's topic.
Okay, great.
So I'm kind of excited about that.
thank you, Brittany. Thank you, Rebecca. Thank you, listeners. And tune in next week here on broadscast.com and KHTS, your hometown station.